Following new ground motion lessons learned from the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989 and Northridge in 1994, Caltrans engineers worked with experts from around the world to analyze the seismic vulnerability of the bridges and roadways of California. It was determined that the 1958 Carquinez Bridge would need seismic retrofitting, while the older Carquinez Bridge, built in 1927, that carries westbound traffic, would need to be replaced by the bridge on which I'm now standing.
On May 21, 1927, at almost the same moment that Charles Lindbergh landed in Paris, the Carquinez Bridge was opened in California, linking the agricultural Central Valley to the industrial Bay Area. The 1927 bridge was a business venture of two grocers, Avon Hanford and Oscar Clapp. They started a ferry service across the Carquinez Strait and later formed the American Toll Bridge Company in 1923 with the purpose of building a bridge between Crockett and Vallejo. The two counties on both sides of the strait followed by investing in roads to accommodate the expected traffic from the relatively new invention of the horseless carriage, the automobile. Later, a parallel span was built in the 1950s by the Division of Bay Toll Crossings to handle growing traffic after the post-war population boom in California. The second Carquinez span opened to traffic in 1958. The new Carquinez Bridge would be the first major suspension bridge to be built in the United States since the 1970s. Caltrans considered many different bridge designs for the new Carquinez Bridge, but eventually evaluated four options in depth, including a steel cantilever structure like the two existing bridges, a double arch, and a cable-stayed bridge. After much deliberation, a catenary main cable suspension bridge was selected. This option had the best combination of seismic safety, navigational safety, engineering feasibility and constructability, aesthetics, and cost. A joint venture of Delu Cather, OPAC, and Steinman would design the bridge, while Caltrans would provide oversight and have approval authority. The bid to build the bridge was awarded to a joint venture of Flatiron Construction, FCI, of Boulder, Colorado, and Cleveland Bridge from the United Kingdom. FCI would construct the foundations, towers, anchorages, and retaining walls, while Cleveland Bridge would construct the main cables, erect decks, and supervise all of the steelwork.
Public meetings were held in the town of Crockett. The public was at first concerned that the new bridge construction would disrupt their lives and impact the future welfare of their town. Through an awareness to sensitive issues like noise and air quality, bridge aesthetics, historical preservation, and with the assistance of a public affairs firm, MIG, a Carquinez Bridge Community Advisory Committee was formed. Caltrans was able to allay public concerns and ultimately rally support for the bridge. Because the shallow water on the Crockett shore was in an environmentally sensitive area, Caltrans constructed a small bridge or trestle from which to work. The trestle was completed 1 year before the contractor actually began work on the new bridge. A groundbreaking ceremony was held on March 3, 2000, with the public, transportation officials, state and local politicians in attendance. In the crowd that day was a legendary ironworker, then 95 years old, Alfred Zampa, who had helped build the two earlier Carquinez bridge spans as well as other Bay Area bridges. 6 weeks after the groundbreaking, Al Zampa passed away. 6 months later, in September 2000, the bridge was officially designated the Alfred Zampa Memorial Bridge by an act of the California legislature.
The foundation work for the towers began in March of 2000. The two towers for the new bridge are anchored into place using 6 10-foot diameter reinforced concrete piles for each tower leg that reach 300 feet underwater, which is deeper than the two existing Carquinez bridges are high. The pile caps were manufactured at the Mare Island Naval Shipyard in Vallejo. The large pile caps provided a surface on which the towers could be formed and poured. For the construction of the reinforced concrete towers, a process called jump forming was used. Formwork was placed and then concrete poured. When the concrete had cured, the entire form was jumped up and secured atop the previous section. Using 13-foot segments, this process was repeated until the tower stood over 400 feet tall. These concrete towers are the first in the U.S. constructed on piles to support a suspension bridge. Instead of tower legs that are completely vertical with cross members to provide additional support, like the Golden Gate and Bay bridges, the Carquinez bridge tower legs are battered in towards each other, forming an A shape. They also taper in, making them narrower at the top than at the base. This gives the bridge a streamlined and elegant look. As the foundations for the towers neared completion, crews worked simultaneously on constructing anchorages on both sides of the Carquinez Strait. The Vallejo anchorage was excavated approximately 60 feet deep into the bedrock, while the Crockett anchorage is a monolithic structure rising approximately 60 feet above ground. Throughout the summer and fall of 2001, as the bridge towers rose above the Carquinez Strait, the galvanized steel wire for the main cable was being fabricated in England and shipped here. About 13,000 miles of it was stored on Mare Island in 5-mile bundles awaiting the spinning. As the concrete work for the project wound down, new personnel started arriving to begin the next phase of the project, the steelwork. The main cable saddles to be placed on top of the towers and within the anchorages were also fabricated in England. Too large to be lifted by a crane in one piece, the tower saddles were made as 3 separate pieces and assembled in place. The main cable spinning began in the summer of 2002, preceded by the installation of a footbridge across the Carquinez Strait. The footbridge was placed to follow the path of the main cable, providing a work platform for the ironworkers suspended hundreds of feet above the Carquinez Strait.
Slowly, the Crockett community's attitude began to change from reluctant acceptance of a job that brought dirt, noise, and traffic to respect and awe at a civil engineering project of epic proportions.
If there's one event or activity that best symbolizes the building of a suspension bridge, it would be cable spinning. Innovated over 150 years ago by John Roebling, cable spinning remains unchanged in principle since its early days. However, its installation technique has improved by an advancement called the controlled tension method that uses computers to maintain consistent tension in the wires as they are spun. The controlled tension method requires fewer man-hours than necessary for conventional aerial spinning and produces more uniform results and enables a safer work environment. August and September 2002 were devoted to the construction of the main cable. The main cable is made up of individual wires that are grouped into strands that consist of 232 wires per strand. There are 37 such strands for a total of 8,584 total wires spun per main cable. After the cable spinning was completed, the cables needed to be compacted. The compaction machine compressed the cable radially, completely around the outside into a cylinder. Once the cable compaction was completed, large steel casings called cable bands were installed. These permanent cable bands held the vertical wire rope suspenders that would eventually support the bridge deck and roadbed. While the cable spinning was proceeding at the Carquinez Strait, the suspended roadway was being fabricated by IHI, a world-class steel fabricator located in Japan. The Carquinez Bridge is the first steel orthotropic box girder suspension bridge built in the United States. It has a relatively light yet strong aerodynamic structure with an aesthetically pleasing low profile. The bridge deck is hollow on the inside and permits easy access for maintenance of structure and the utilities housed within the bridge deck. It was fabricated in 24 individual sections, each one weighing approximately 600 tons.
8 deck sections were loaded onto 3 Chinese transport ships in Nagoya, Japan, for the trip across the Pacific Ocean. These large transport ships would be anchored under the bridge, and the deck sections would be lifted directly into place.
Because of the close proximity of the 2 existing bridges and the related cost of construction, a gantry could not be constructed safely near the bridge. It was decided to temporarily mount strand jacks on the box girder sections and attach the strands directly to the main cables with large cast steel cable bands. A strand jack is a mechanism that uses wedges to grab steel cables and pull them vertically through the device. It works somewhat like doing the rope climb in gym class. The deck lifting operation schedule was controlled by the tides. The sections had to be lifted up off the ship before high tide, or else the ships would subside. The suspender cables would then be prematurely loaded. Once the process was in place, the vertical lifts were relatively straightforward.
The operation of a vertical lift of deck section usually averaged about 4 hours. By using time-lapse, we've sped up the operation to only a few seconds. Each day, after a deck lift was completed, the transport ship left the Carquinez Strait and returned to the San Pablo Bay so that the shipping channel would not be obstructed.
Deck lifts along the shorelines presented some challenges. Because the water on the north side was too shallow for the ship to anchor, and the construction trestle blocked access on the south side, the deck sections were lifted off the ship and swung into place. Then, a system of walking hydraulic jacks moved them into their final location.
The ironworkers celebrated with the topping out ceremony after the last deck section was placed. Although much work was yet to be done, the ironworkers had reached a milestone towards the completion of the bridge.
With the deck sections in place on their suspender cables, they were bolted and welded together to form one continuous girder the entire length of the bridge. The steel plates that were installed while sections were fabricated allowed the ironworkers to bolt and secure the sections temporarily. Final welding and bolting of the sections was done from inside the deck, as it was now one continuous bridge deck for the entire span. Once the steel sections of the main deck were in place, the wrapping of the main cable could begin. While going over the Golden Gate or Bay bridges, it appears that the main cable is encased in a pipe or conduit. What you're really seeing is a wire wrapped around the outside of the main cable. In the case of the Carquinez Bridge, first, a zinc-based paste was applied to the cable itself to protect it from corrosion. Then, a 3.5 millimeter galvanized wire was spun radially around the outside of the main cable to form a densely wrapped casing. The entire cable system then received 3 protective coats of paint.
While the Carquinez Bridge was under construction, the new Crockett Interchange and the bridge approaches were being simultaneously constructed. The prime contractor on the Interchange project was C.C. Myers. Because of the presence of Union Pacific Railroad tracks, a 150-foot gap between the interchange and the new bridge was spanned with the placement of 4 steel tub girders. The girders, each weighing over 100 tons, were fabricated in the state of Washington. The work of placing the 4 massive tub girders was completed with very close coordination with Union Pacific officials to minimize impact to passenger and freight trains. Over the next few weeks, concrete was poured and allowed to cure. After 3 years of construction, the new Carquinez Bridge was connected, and the Carquinez Strait was spanned by steel and concrete for the first time in almost half a century. By early October 2003, the structure of the bridge was essentially complete. All that remained to be done was the necessary finishing work.
The steel deck was paved with a thin 2-layered coat of Trinidad Lake asphalt laid over a waterproofing membrane. This paving material has been proven for longevity and low maintenance. The new deck will accommodate 3 lanes of multi-use traffic, 1 carpool lane, 2 10-foot shoulders, and a 12-foot bike and pedestrian lane.
Throughout the bridge building process, the community was given a voice through the Carquinez Bridge Community Advisory Committee. This group of community-minded citizens had a chance to talk directly to Caltrans, voicing their concerns and giving their suggestions. Caltrans invited many experts on air monitoring, traffic congestion, bridge aesthetics, noise abatement, and other issues to address the group's concerns as they were raised. The committee shared their opinions about important issues, such as the development of the Crockett Interchange, its impact on their town, the color scheme of the bridge, and ways that they might preserve relics of the old historic 1927 bridge. It was determined that the 1927 bridge would be taken down following the completion and opening of the new bridge and related connections. Caltrans' willingness to listen and address the community's concerns helped to make them become participants in the development of the project. Groups of visiting students, engineers, and politicians all wanted to be given walking tours of the bridge and ride the elevator to the towers. Ultimately, apprehension had given way to civic pride and community solidarity, and excitement grew as the November ribbon-cutting ceremony neared.
The building of any edifice, especially a bridge, is not just about erecting steel and concrete. It's also about dedicated men and women working together as a team. Designers, architects, engineers, tradespeople, and townspeople who share a vision. We'd like you to meet some of them.
Over the years, I think there was maybe not the best relationship between the state and particularly the communities that are right there at the bridge. We didn't do it enough to involve the public at that time to make sure that this bridge, which is going to be, or the two bridges that are right in their backyards, that they were built in a way that it would minimize the impact to them. Even beyond that, with the new span, not only did we want to minimize the impacts, but we also wanted to make it so that it was something they were going to be proud of, that they're going to feel ownership over. Very fulfilling opportunity that I've had to work on this project. It's something that I think when you're coming out of school and you're learning the profession, you dream of working on a project like this. And it's great to be able to fulfill that dream.
We'll unload the ship one way or the other, we'll get it done. And the guys we brought in on the strand jacks were from Holland, a couple of guys from Holland who were looking after the skidding. And we all agreed we could do it. And I think just about everything went wrong in that 12-hour period you could ever imagine. We got to 2 o'clock, we could see the ship coming towards us from from Rodeo Way, and the deck section wasn't landed. It was just about to be landed. And it was landed and we just detached the strands. And the hydraulic motor in these special walking units blew up 2 o'clock in the morning. And at 6 o'clock that ship was going to be pulling itself to the pier, ready to be unloaded. So we had 4 hours to fix it and walk what we knew was a 3-hour walk. We had to walk this thing. So on the phone to Holland, fax drawings, get people out of bed, run to the fax machine, get the fax, find the pieces we needed, get it fixed, get people out of bed, take it all apart. And literally, as we walked this deck section, the back of the deck section from the off, so it was at the end of the pier, the ship nestled up to the pier. It was that close. And I look back at it now and I thought, maybe the call wasn't right at 2 o'clock, but we did it, and maybe we hadn't had so many problems. But certainly that was a story that sticks in the back of my mind.
Built numerous different structures, all different. The geometry on this bridge is insane. There's no right angles, nothing square. So that's been challenging and makes it interesting. But it's been an enjoyable project. It's been a great experience. I've learned so many aspects of building a Caltrans project, any kind of Caltrans project, and this one particularly is special because it's so much different than what you normally do or what you see on every freeway. So I've enjoyed it.
Everybody, I think, has grown a little bit on the job. I hope that includes myself as far as knowledge, experience. I've gotten unique opportunities. Travel the world, you know. Some will comment, yeah, Steve got to do that. And I did. It's not all glamorous. Okay, it became work. Probably the first trip to Japan was interesting. You know, it was unique. The second trip, it was work already, and it's what you work for. We try to talk to staff frequently. You need to occasionally pull yourself away from the project. You know, not mentally, just physically. Walk away from the project and look what you're doing. And typically, you're saying, "This is cool. This is a lot of headaches day to day, but you know, this is what it's about."
the camaraderie between the English and the Americans was pretty good, I thought. The English was pretty good, but we did have a couple of Welsh guys come over. Yeah, they was okay. That's enough said about that, I think. It's something I remember for the rest of my life. I mean, just working in California, you know, coming over here. I remember they offered me the job, and when I was in London, to come to California and work on this bridge. I thought, if I don't go, I'll regret that for the rest of my life. And yeah, it's been a fantastic job. Everybody's worked hard, fantastic engineering. Nice to be with some friends from England. We've got on well with majority of the Americans. I would say 90%, 95%. I'd say the job's gone really good. It's gone on time. But I'm looking forward to going home.
There's an old tradition in the town of Crockett where the swim team used to do an end of the summer swim across the straits at the end of their swim season. And apparently it hadn't taken place for about 25 years. And Gene Pedrati, one of the citizens, decided that he wanted to revive that in celebration of the construction of the new bridge. So I thought, well, geez, if I go and do that, maybe I'll actually get my name in the newspaper or something. So, because what a great story, you know, the old bridge engineer goes out there and swims with the kids. So I volunteered for the swim along with our public information officer, Bart Ney. So Caltrans was well represented in that swim. As far as I know, everybody that jumped in the water finished that swim, including some little old lady that I saw the last one coming in doing a side stroke. I think it must have took her about 45-50 minutes to get in, whereas the first people out were out in about 20 minutes, but she made it all the way. And I saw the coach and her daughter, and they made it, and unfortunately I had to leave, but I guess there was a barbecue next, and everybody had a real good time. And those people, they're good people. It's a good community thing, and if they're going to do that again, I'll go out and swim the straits again with them anytime. So.
I've been working for the department for 20 years, and now I got promoted to deputy in District 4. But looking back my 20 years of career, this would always be the highlight of my career, and this is the one thing that I would always remember. This is the bridge that I worked on from the beginning. People told us it couldn't get built. People told us it couldn't get built in 10, 15 years. We started the process back in 1996, 97. We're in 2003. It's done. And this is a bridge I think I'll be walking or driving with my 2 children, and could tell my 2 children, hey, Mommy had a lot to do with building that bridge. And that would always be the proudest moment in my life.
The whole, well, it's big. It's really, it's impressive. It's, yeah, how do you, I don't think I have the vocabulary for it. I really don't. It's, and you don't really even, you know, like, you don't really feel it so much until you actually sit and talk about it like this. Because otherwise we're working. You know, we're still hitting something and tightening a bolt. But when you actually sit and talk about it, it makes a lot of difference. We don't think about it that way. We don't actually, as maybe, I don't know about most people, but I know as ironworkers, we don't usually sit down and analyze our thoughts and analyze our feelings about something. And to think about it, it's a big thing. And I'm really extraordinarily happy that I was involved with it, and that I was able to go through the whole thing and to see so many different parts, to meet so many different people. I've just been really, like Mouse would say, I don't know if you know Mouse. Mouse is, he would say, I'm blessed. And I do feel that way, to have been able to go through this whole thing. Exceptional, yeah. I don't have any more to say.
And for blue-collar workers, I think it's just a great traditional thing here that the state has done in naming a bridge after not only my father, an iron worker, but it represents recognition of all of the building and construction trades. Let it be an iron worker, carpenter, pile driver, a laborer, a painter, operating engineers. It's everybody working on that makes that work in conjunction with each other. It's just a great feeling for the trades to be able to do that. I don't think anywhere in the United States there's a bridge named after a blue-collar worker. And it's just a great tradition, and I just feel great about it because I'm a little closer with the namesake, but it really is meant for all of the trades out there and all of the people that work on these great projects which later become monuments. I'm just proud of it and proud to be part of it.
I fell about between 40 and 43 feet. The net was, it's 90 feet across, and the net sagged way down. Well, we didn't realize that. So when I fell, it didn't bother me. I figured the net was going to catch me. I wasn't scared or anything. So I bounced, but I bounced off the rocks because I hit the net, and net hit the ground also. They put me in the hospital at St. Luke's there, San Francisco. Well, it's about 12 weeks. I just wanted to do it. I know everybody couldn't do it. And every time you work way up high, why, you have a different feeling, a good feeling, and you feel high. And you know you're doing something good.
I also want to thank our transportation partners on this project, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and the tremendous involvement of people from the communities of Vallejo and of Crockett, who have put up with a lot of inconvenience, but have been tremendous partners and now get the benefit of this great new bridge.
We are delighted that we were able to work in partnership with our federal partners, Mr. Congressman Miller, thank you so much, Senator Torlakson, Assemblyman West Chesborough. You have a great team serving you.
What a magnificent bridge you folks have put together. Is this something else or what? I'm so proud of everyone who had anything to do with this bridge. Whether you worked in the business community, whether you're part of the construction trades that made this happen, part of government that gave the permits, this is a magnificent marquee project you can be proud of for decades to come. Give yourself a round of applause.
Great day for the iron worker, huh? It's a great day for every building construction worker, I'll tell you that. In closing, keep in mind that the bridge is being named for an iron worker, a blue-collar worker, recognizes all of the men and women of the building and construction trades who built this great construction project. We completed the project on time and without one fatality. Yes, Dad would be proud, I'm proud, and every construction worker should be proud of this dedication. Thanks.
Bridge building is about connections. The new Carquinez Bridge provides a safe freeway connection along I-80, replacing a bridge that served the public for 76 years and now whose time has passed. Bicyclists and pedestrians will soon be able to cross the Carquinez Strait. Countries and cultures from around the world came together to share their expertise and passion building this impressive structure. The neighboring communities came together with a large state agency in making it happen, and a legendary ironworker, a working hero named Alfred Zampa, has a bridge named in his memory.